let's go further east where the 33rd degree northern latitude goes over Dallas, Texas. And as you know, President John Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas on November the 22nd, 1963. And the day he was assassinated, the 22nd, when added to 11, the number of the month of November equals 33. But there is another reason he was murdered on November the 22nd. You might recall that it was on November 22nd, 1307, that Pope Clement V issued the papal bull entitled Pastoralis Preeminente, stating that the charges against the Knights Templar appeared to be true. So the Catholic Church inflicted a serious blow to the Knights Templar on November 22nd. So the Masons, the heirs to the Knights Templar, inflicted a serious blow to the Catholic Church by assisting in the assassination of John Kennedy, a Catholic. This is an overhead photograph taken of Dealey Plaza, the site of the assassination of President John Kennedy. The building in the red frame is the Texas School Book Depository, where it is claimed that Lee Harvey Oswald fired the fatal shots at the president. Dealey Plaza has an obelisk on the eastern side, and it is shown in the green frame. The obelisk is a favorite symbol of the Masonic Lodge. This is a photograph of this obelisk with the School Book Depository in the background. There is a plaque at the base of the obelisk saying that Dealey Plaza is the site of the first fraternal lodge in Texas. I believe that that means it was the site of the first Masonic lodge in Texas, and here are some of the reasons. Just to the south of the obelisk on Houston Street is a statue shown here in the light blue frame. And this is a side view showing it in relation to the obelisk and the North School Book Depository to the north. The statue is of George Bannerman Dealey, the owner of the Dallas Morning newspaper and a 33rd degree Mason. Texas was created by the Masons, and their flag was designed by a member of the Masonic Lodge. Jim Bowie, Sam Houston, Stephen Austin, and Davy Crockett were all Masons at the Alamo. And in this photograph of Dealey Plaza, I have marked the route the president's car in the orange frame, and you can see that the president was driven right by the obelisk. Should anyone wish information or additional information about why President Kennedy was assassinated, may I suggest that you obtain my DVDs entitled The Kennedy Assassination and Vietnam, America's Betrayal and Treason, and you will see why Kennedy was assassinated. After the assassination, President Lyndon Johnson, who was Kennedy's vice president, succeeded Kennedy upon his death. And he appointed Supreme Court Chief Justice Earl Warren to head the official investigation into the death of President Kennedy, a committee called the Warren Commission. That is Warren above number 3. Numbers 1 and 2 shared a common experience with Justice Warren. All three of these men were members of the Masonic Lodge. Number 1 was Congressman Gerald Ford, later to become President of the United States. He was a 32nd degree Mason, but was later elevated to the 33rd. Number 2 was Senator Richard Russell, a 32nd degree Mason. And of course, number 3 was Chief Justice Earl Warren, a 33rd degree Mason. But the most important individual in the entire assassination plot was FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who was also a 33rd degree Mason. Another 32nd degree Mason was Arlen Specter, the chief counsel to the Warren Commission. He was later rewarded with the election as a U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. So now you can know why the involvement of some of the members of the Masonic Lodge in the assassination plot never became public. Many of the key individuals investigating the assassination were members. I want you to know that there is photographic evidence that Lee Harvey Oswald did not, and I will say it again, did not shoot President Kennedy. And that evidence is in the Warren Commission report. And that means the Masons on the Warren Commission knew it. In other words, they framed an innocent man. And this is that photo. It's called the Alchins photograph because it was taken by James Alchins, an Associated Press photographer. You will notice that it was taken as the Kennedy car approached Mr. Alchins, and it was taken from the other side of the street. That is the Kennedy car approaching, and Mr. Alchins was on the driver's side of the car. Notice also that you can see the Texas School Book Depository in the background, directly between the two cars in the procession. Now notice the black area in the School Book Depository building. That is the main entrance to the building, and you will see a man leaning out of the doorway looking at the Kennedy car. This is the close-up of that man, and I will now try to prove to you that this man is Lee Harvey Oswald. This is a picture taken of Lee Harvey Oswald just hours after the assassination, and he was wearing the clothes he was arrested in. And this is a side-by-side slide showing that both men are wearing the identical clothing. Let me repeat this for the second time. The Alchins photograph was in the Warren Commission report. That means they knew Oswald did not shoot the president. And it also means that the Masons around the Warren Commission knew it as well. And once again, I'll repeat it. This whole commission and the Masons framed an innocent man. And more importantly, they protected the truth that Masons were directly involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. You might remember the quotation by Manly P. Hall that I cited previously, because it says that the Masons ordain kings. The assassination of John Kennedy appears to teach that they also unordain kings. Now, why would the Masons want to be part of a conspiracy to unordain President John Kennedy? And I think I have the answer. You might remember that it was the Catholic Church and the King of France that burned Jacques de Molay, the leader of the Knights Templar, at the stake. So these two murdered the leader of the father to the Masonic Lodge. And it is easy to prove that Masons take vows to avenge the murder of Jacques de Molay. So what better way to avenge the leader of the Knights Templar than to assassinate John Kennedy, the first Catholic president of the United States? The Masons sought revenge, and it took them over 600 years to accomplish that. That, I believe, is the reason the Masons got involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. Kenneth Mackenzie, a high-ranking Mason, wrote in his encyclopedia, "Freemasonry works in secret, but it's benignant, defined as kindly to inferiors. Its benignant, kindly to inferiors fruits are visible in all lands." Notice that Mr. Mackenzie considers the works of the Masons as being beneficial to us inferiors, and that we would be thankful if we only knew that they were the ones dispensing these fruits. And I wonder how Jackie Kennedy would have responded when she would be told that the Masons consider the assassination of her husband to be a benignant fruit. And in another strange coincidence, President Kennedy's younger brother Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles after a presidential primary victory. I don't know if you remember, but the words out of his mouth as he lay on the floor in that kitchen were, "They finally got me, didn't they?" No one has ever answered the question of who were the they that Kennedy referred to, but it appears as if Bobby knew that those who murdered his brother had also assassinated him. By the way, the red rectangle is over the clip-on tie that Bobby Kennedy pulled from the guard walking to his right as he fell down. It is claimed that this guard fired the fatal shot into Bobby Kennedy's head just behind his right ear. This is a photograph of Thane Caesar, that security guard that websites on the internet say was the guard who fired the fatal shot. This is a photograph reportedly taken after the shooting of Mr. Caesar and another guard, and it appears as if Mr. Caesar was not wearing his tie. Bobby reportedly gave a speech a couple of weeks before he was assassinated, stating that he would use the power of the presidency if he was elected to investigate who assassinated his brother. November equals 33. But there is another reason he was murdered on November the 22nd. You might recall that it was on November 22nd, 1307, that Pope Clement V issued the papal bull entitled Pastoralis Preeminente, stayed on the eastern side, and it is shown in the green frame. The obelisk is a favorite symbol of the Masonic Lodge. This is a photograph of this obelisk with the school book depository in the background. There is a plaque at the base of the obelisk saying that Dealey Plaza is the site of the first Catholic. This is an overhead photograph taken of Dealey Plaza, the site of the assassination of President John Kennedy. The building in the red frame is the Texas School Book Depository, where it is claimed that Lee Harvey Oswald fired the fatal shots at the president. Dealey Plaza has an obelisk. Let's go further east, where the 33rd degree northern latitude goes over Dallas, Texas. And as you know, President John Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas on November the 22nd, 1963. And the day he was assassinated, the 22nd, when added to 11, the number of the month of that the charges against the Knights Templar appeared to be true. So the Catholic Church inflicted a serious blow to the Knights Templar on November 22nd. So the Masons, the heirs to the Knights Templar, inflicted a serious blow to the Catholic Church by assisting in the assassination of John Kennedy, a